What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. BC coming at you with all the latest in the pro wrestling world. In this upload, we got big updates on Becky Lynch, John Cena, and Randy Orton. It's all coming up, but I want to start off with MJF. Ever since news broke that Shane McMahon and Tony Khan had that meeting in Arlington, Texas at that airport, everybody in AEW, when asked about it, is kind of walking on eggshells with their response, right? Because just in case Shane McMahon shows up, they want to make sure they didn't say the wrong thing. So it's a lot of heaping praise onto Shane McMahon. Oh, we hope he does. That'll be amazing. Except for one individual, that is MJF. When asked about Shane McMahon, MJF gave, well, a very MJF response. On if he'd like to see Shane McMahon in AEW, MJF says, and I quote, "I think it would be bad for Shane McMahon's mental health to get in the ring with me on a microphone or bell to bell. So my answer is yes, because I would have the time of my fucking life. But my answer also, just because I'm so salt to the earth, is I think for the first time in my career, maybe I'd feel bad. He's a fucking mark. I mean, yeah, that's my reaction. I don't respect either of them," meaning Tony Khan or Shane. "I respect the fact that I am the highest paid athlete in my company, rightfully so. Outside of that and the money stuff, I don't know, man." So this is one of those two sides of the fence scenarios, right? On one side of the fence, you have a lot of individuals that would love to see Shane McMahon in AEW. To them, he would bring a different vibe to these shows. Maybe even bring a pulse they haven't seen in a while from AEW. And then on the flip side, the other side of that fence, there's going to be a lot of individuals that say, no, thank you. That's not what AEW is about. Or wasn't supposed to be what AEW is about. He's going to clog the roster. He's going to take a spot from an individual that could be using that TV time. As if individuals like Jeff Jarrett are not already doing that, but they'll use Shane McMahon as an example. No matter which side of the fence you stand on, much respect, that's your prerogative. But if you're asking BC if I would like to see MJF and Shane McMahon rock out a feud, culminating in a pay-per-view exhibition, I would simply take my wallet out, you pick the credit card. That's my response. Absolutely. Shane McMahon always brings a level of believability into everything he does that most wrestlers that train nonstop day after day cannot achieve. Shane McMahon just naturally brings that to the ring. MJF, most individuals would be hard-pressed to see the difference between the character MJF and the dude MJF. So that's a level of believability on a whole nother realm. You put Shane McMahon and MJF in a storyline. You remember Shane McMahon and AJ Styles from years ago? How epic that was? That would be even better than AJ Styles, Shane McMahon, I assure you. and you could do it in a no harm, no foul situation so nobody cries. Stuff it in Rampage and Collision if you want. Stuff it there so nobody has to cry that it's taking up flagship Dynamite time. And for anybody that's concerned, well, that's going to take away from MJF something meaningful that he could be doing on Dynamite for 2 months. If you think that MJF and Shane McMahon is not going to pop a better number than anything else MJF would be doing on Dynamite, come on. It's Shane McMahon and MJF. It's going to turn heads. And if they did stuff it on a Collision or a Rampage, I assure you that would be the best numbers, or at least for that segment, that those shows have ever seen, even including their debut. Shane McMahon, MJF. After hearing that response from MJF, if Shane does show up, you gotta have them work together. If Shane shows up, I see no reason. That is sheer money for Tony Khan. Want to move on to Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch, she is one of those interesting scenarios, right? She's one of those individuals that fell prey to WWE's new way to do business, which is just letting contracts expire, right? This way they don't look like the evil empire that's always releasing talent. Now they can just let the contracts expire and go, we fulfilled our obligation. We just decided not to bring this individual back, which is their prerogative. But by doing this, they eat the upfront cost, obviously. But by not re-signing, they're going to save a lot more in the long run. This is going to help the flywheel that Endeavor has utilized for UFC and is utilizing in a different capacity for WWE. Once they purchased WWE, they had to recoup $50 to $75 million. They were going to do this on the flywheel. This is the most interesting flywheel that we have seen. Way different than UFC and how they're trying to recoup that money and cut cost. So it's an interesting way to go about it. I'm sure they're right now kind of in the feeling out phase to see if this actually works. But they're just letting contracts expire, right? Dijak expired. They chose not to re-sign. They're going to save some money there. Bobby Lashley, they let the contract expire. Does not look like Lashley is re-signing. That's a lot of money coming off the books. Individuals like MVP, Becky Lynch, Natalya, so many others. So Becky Lynch's contract runs out. Again, back in the day, just months ago, the way to do business was you make sure they're going nowhere, they're not talking to anyone else. You would sign them while they're still under contract, and they get that extension. Or just you restructure a brand new deal. But you would never just let it run out, let them go home, and that's it, right? Maybe we'll talk in a few weeks or a few months. That's what they're doing. So Becky's contract runs out and that's it. She goes. Then there's all these reports that we were getting, right? One report stating that a contract was presented. She liked it. All that needs to be done is some I's needed to be dotted. T's needed to be crossed. Signature here and there. And Becky Lynch is once again under contract with WWE. But then we heard, no, there was a snag. She didn't like something in it. It was sent back. And she remained not under WWE contract. So there's all these reports. Becky Lynch is now opening up. What's she been up to? And what does the future look like? Here's a quote from Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch says, "It's great. It's great. Everything is great. I have my wonderful little family. I have many options on the table. I get to, for the first time in a long time, I get to take a breath to appreciate everything. When you're on the road 52 weeks a year, nonstop, going from town to town to town, and in the last 3 years, I added to the chaos by having a daughter who I would bring everywhere with me. On top of that, I decided it would be a good time to write my biography. For the last year or two, it was pure chaos. Now I'm taking a little bit more time. I'm taking a breath, getting to look around the world, getting to look at what I created and evaluate everything. But it's been wonderful. Many options on the table, and you know that's got to be true because most, if not all, promotions around the globe would love to have somebody like Becky Lynch in their company. The star power that brings, the name recognition would absolutely be leveling up. You gotta also wonder, though, she most likely wouldn't be able to use the name Becky Lynch, right? I don't know if she would go by Rebecca Quinn, but I believe just like Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, WWE has that name. They're not going to let that go. Becky Lynch became too much of a star in that company for WWE just to let the Becky Lynch name go, right? I mean, I haven't done too much research into that, but I don't believe Becky owns the name. I think this is like a Sasha Banks scenario, so that will greatly affect her. I'm telling you now because on this channel, we put Mercedes Moné up on a pedestal for many reasons. But to say that she has not been hurt by changing that name to Mercedes Moné, it just doesn't hit the same. It's amazing what just a name can do. So I'm not saying that would be the be-all, end-all. She's still going to do just fine. The company will be elevated by having a Becky Lynch, whoever signs her. I just cannot see Becky Lynch anywhere but WWE. That's just me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Would you love to see her in AEW? With her and Mercedes and Britt Baker and what Tony Storm's doing and maybe with Stat and Willow coming into her own. Is the division finally coming around? They've always had the talent. They couldn't bring it all together. Would somebody like Becky Lynch be that final piece of the puzzle for AEW? If it's like a TNA, they've always had a stacked women's roster. And then in which case, because they have a deal with WWE now, you could see Becky Lynch in NXT. So that would be kind of funny. But I just can't see Becky Lynch going anywhere but WWE. So even though the reports are she kind of sent back an original draft of a contract, I do feel eventually those final I's will be dotted, those final T's will be crossed, the final signatures, and Becky will be back in WWE. But as of now, that's what she's saying. She's enjoying that family time, and right now she's mulling over many options that are on the table. So she's leaving the door open. It's money. You guys got to remember this too. She was making roughly what, 3 to 4, bringing in the merchandise and all that, $3 to $4 million for WWE per year. Now, if AEW, like they just did for Mercedes, Sasha, gave her $5 million, right? If you were to go 4 to 5 in AEW when you were getting 3 to 4 in WWE, that's an extra $1 million if you do a 5-year deal, for instance, which we believe Mercedes is around. So $5 million extra dollars by signing with AEW. So anybody going, she'd be foolish not to re-sign with WWE. You also got to think about the money, guys. I know a lot of times we just don't think of that, right? Maybe we're just thinking in ratings or what it's going to do for the kid. Who knows? But money is a driving factor. It actually does matter. And anybody that believes that $5 million extra dollars, having $5 million in your bank account, anybody that thinks $5 million is nothing, is using the wrong calculator. $5 million is a lot of money. It is life-changing for many individuals. Many individuals will not see $5 million in their lifetime. And if she can make that, you at least have to talk about that, right? She has a family now with Seth and their kid. You got to at least think, hey, we can get $5 million extra dollars, work less dates, and be set up forever. And our kids and their kids. So that's another thing to think about, guys. If it's just like, oh, WWE is absolutely just power slamming AEW right now, it'd be foolish, but maybe. But you also have to think it's about money. It's all about money. You know, the Yankees, Mets are going through that right now with one of our players, Soto. Soto is one of the best, Juan Soto, one of the best players in baseball. He's a Yankee right now. And when his contract is up at the end of the year, we are going to offer him a lot of money. And the only other big option that he could do is go to the Mets across town, right? He'd go to Queens. And everyone's like, well, why would he leave the Yankees? It's the Yankees and all their championships. Why would he ruin that just to go across town to the Mets? That makes zero sense. But that's because the Mets could, theoretically, the Mets can offer him 40 to 50 million more dollars. 40 to 50 million dollars to do the same thing you're going to do with the Yankees, play baseball. So then you start talking, how much do you value your legacy and this and that? Absolutely. But to say that you at least you have to give it thought, right? You can't just say, hey, I can get $45 million if I sign this contract, but I'm going to stay with the Yankees because it's the Yankees. Does Becky go, I'm going to stay with WWE because it's WWE? Or does she say, I'm going to collect the $5 million extra dollars so I can be home more and do the same thing when I do show up, wrestle? It's at least a conversation, right? That's what money, it has to be. When it's that type of money, when you're talking millions, you have to at least talk about it. Becky Lynch, options on the table. Jonathan Cena. How about John Cena? John Cena, every time he does an interview, he drops a little bit more detail on this huge retirement tour next year for WWE. A couple of interviews ago, he did say he confirmed finally, because we were in all this word that it's going to go the full year, but maybe not the full year, but it is going to go to SummerSlam. Then he finally said, no, I am going January all the way to December. John Cena says, and I quote, I can probably confirm that Peacemaker will take us to the end of 2024. And I can say that with the utmost conviction because I have given the calendar year of 2025 to WWE. I am retiring in 2025. And I start that farewell tour in January. I'll end it in December. And it's going to be right around 36 dates around the world to pay thanks and gratitude to the WWE audiences around the world. So that's what I'm doing in 2025. 36 appearances, averaging 3 dates per month in 2025. So that completely changes the game for WWE in 2025, right? John Cena is not there just for a WrestleMania, a Royal Rumble, a WrestleMania, maybe a SummerSlam and a Survivor Series, and then deuces. No, he's there for many pay-per-views, it looks like. And that changes the scenario with Gunther, right? WrestleMania 41. If they choose to do Cena-Gunther, Cena gets the 17th championship, defeats Ric Flair's record, becomes the sole owner of the most championships at 17. If they decide to do it for John Cena, not Charlie Flair, John Cena does not have to show up the next night on Raw and vacate that title so he can ride off into the sunset as a champion like John Elway. Super Bowl 32, the Broncos over my Packers, unfortunately. But this doesn't have to be a John Elway situation. He could win that title and actually have a title reign for his last run. And then some up-and-comer or somebody can have the ultimate victory, defeat John Cena, and hoist up that championship. So you pay it forward on the way out. So not only can he have his championship, have his last title reign, get the record from Flair, but he can also pay it forward and do the deed, look up at the lights, so another individual can hold up that title. It changes everything. And another piece of that interview, too, he talked about how he was prepping for this for a while now. So you got to believe this isn't just thinking ahead to storylines, but actual opponents that he wants to face. I mean, WWE, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Nick Khan, John Cena, this is not something where they're all just going to get together on the day when Cena shows up to the arena and go, hey, what ideas do you guys have? This is well thought out. And I think Dwayne Johnson's doing the same thing. And I think this all stems around Netflix. Everything we're hearing, that Netflix wants to go all out. The biggest names, they want to get Stone Cold in. They want to do a lot of work with The Undertaker. And this isn't just a one-off, like a reunion show. You bring back all the old-timers. Netflix is going to go all out. I believe somehow Dwayne Johnson and John Cena will both be a part of such. Wild. 36 dates. I was not expecting that. He is literally just dedicating that entire year when he could have been doing movies and rocking out Hollywood. That's how much this dude loves this. Again, there was many times he definitely should have turned heel so he could create faces in that company. WWE would have benefited. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But now at this stage in Cena's career, a lot of individuals like BC can respect it a lot more because it is passion and dedication. He truly does love this. And I guess it was to the point where he just didn't want to get out of the way, you know? And he's not the first one. Hulk Hogan and many individuals did that through the years. They did not want to relinquish their top spot. It's a business. But not realizing that if you just step aside a little bit, you're going to create better business. Anyway, 36 dates, 2025. That is wild. Lastly, Randy Orton, mega commitment to WWE. And financially, this dude's set. He's a WWE lifer at this point. Randy Orton has recently signed a new 5-year deal with WWE. There was rumors about it, right? There was word going around. But until Randy Orton or WWE or a real reputable insider can confirm that, it was just speculation. But Randy Orton himself in a recent interview says the following. And in full context, he was asked about a future feud and matchup with Cody Rhodes, to which Randy Orton responded, I know you're alluding to Cody and his title, and maybe I'd like to do it later, but I don't think I should rush it. I'm going to keep doing this for a long time, as I just signed a 5-year contract extension, and I don't have to rush it. I've got all the time in the world as far as I'm concerned. I feel great. I feel healthy. Randy Orton signs a 5-year deal. That is massive at a time where WWE is letting a lot of contracts expire, and then they're saying, thanks for your services. We no longer need them. There was no way they could watch Randy Orton walk out that door. And it's great to hear him say he feels great and he feels healthy because we know he's been banged up the last several years. So good for Randy Orton, man. Get that money. I do question the 5 years if it's actually going to be fulfilled. I would believe that he would retire beforehand, but this is WWE's way to secure Randy Orton, make sure he's a WWE lifer. And for Randy Orton, it's a way to secure financial bliss for years to come. But to fulfill the whole 5 years, while I would love to see it, I just don't see it. He's got a banged up back, a couple banged up knees. He's a step slower than what he used to be. He's nearly 45 years old as it is. He'd be wrapping up his contract at 50 or just around 50, 49, 50 years old is when that contract would be up. I don't know if this version of Randy Orton can go another 5 years. But I do believe he most likely will retire beforehand. But for Randy Orton, that's huge. My one thing would be, I just hope that he is booked better now that he has this new contract. I really do hope that Hunter Hearst Helmsley takes a breath, regroups, and says, all right, we got to make Randy Orton feel like Randy Orton again, because he hasn't for a long time. Orton is just losing all of his pay-per-view matches, it seems, PLE matchups, when he is in them. He's always in these weird storylines where he's a second or third fiddle even. He doesn't feel like Orton anymore. I'm not saying we're ever going to get that legend killer Viper back, but we have to have a better version. Ever since he was in that tag team, the 420 Bros, whatever it is, with Matt Riddle, it's just like, that's not Orton. And ever since it's not that they haven't been able to, it's like they haven't even tried to get Randy Orton back to that status. And it seems like Orton is just happy collecting that check. I mean, I hate to say that, but if somebody like Randy Orton is truly pissed about his booking, it's going to change. You have to believe that. And I know he's kind of used off some of those lifelines. Like he could have been fired several times for his attitude and such, so maybe he doesn't want to rock the boat. But the past few years, this is not the best of Randy Orton. He's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. I'm not just talking skill, just the presentation, everything about Randy Orton. And he just feels so mid so much of the time. So I hope with the new contract, Randy Orton, the old school Randy Orton, is resurrected in the process. That's what I got for you guys, man. Thanks for stopping by the channel for this upload. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Stop right on by the coffee bar. BC in the unit saying check you.